Hi there, my name is Lara Kitts and I'm the National Carer Recruiter for our specialised foster care program here at OzChild. Before we start, I would like to respectfully acknowledge the traditional custodians of whose land we come together on today, and I'd like to pay my respects to elders past and present, and as we say at OzChild, may the children of today lead us to a brighter tomorrow. So OzChild is one of the longest serving non-for-profit organisations for children, young people and families across Australia, and we've been around for over 170 years now in total, and our focus is really keeping families together where possible. Now, over those many years that we have been around, we've managed to transform into a very modern organisation with a vast array of evidence-based programs and services, and our specialised foster care program is one of these evidence-based programs. Before we start talking about specialised foster care, I want to give you a bit of background on out-of-home care in general. So when we talk about out-of-home care, we're referring to children in kinship care, where children or young people stay with family members or close family friends because they can no longer safely stay at home with their parents. Foster care, which is temporary care by people in the community for children and young people who again can't safely stay at home. Or residential care. So instead of being cared for in a loving family-like environment, these kids live in a residential care unit as they have no other option. And because there's no one that can care for them, if that's a kinship carer or a foster carer, these kids are essentially raised by youth workers on a rotating roster. Now, some of these kids who come into residential care have often bounced around the foster care system for years. So by the time they're 7 years old, some kids might have stayed with 10 or sometimes even 20 different foster families. And this is usually because they have developed some tricky behaviours and coping mechanisms as a result of the trauma they have experienced. But also because perhaps they're lacking those basic life skills that they would have learned in a stable family environment if they had that opportunity. And often these young people in residential care do also experience additional trauma of living with a group of similarly traumatized children or young people, all with their own challenging behaviours. So living in a situation like residential care is far from ideal when this little person's already having to deal with their own trauma history from past neglect, abuse or family violence. And the future that this sets these kids up for when they live in this kind of facility often involves not graduating from school, or perhaps in their adulthood not being able to hold down a job, and the cycle really continues. And the number of children and young people in out-of-home care is only going up year on year, which is unfortunate, but with your timing to inquire into becoming a specialised foster carer, it's a really good time to put your hand up and help considering this. Almost all the kids and young people who end up in care have experienced trauma, which has led them to be removed in the first place. And they might have experienced trauma for weeks, months, or even sometimes years before entering the system. And this trauma sometimes manifests as anxiety, depression, post-traumatic stress disorder, or in other ways as well. And then the turbulent nature of being in the system and being away from family can also add to this trauma. So this is why we are dedicated to creating safe spaces for children in care, and that's why we do need people like you to help us in doing so. Our specialised foster care program is called Treatment Foster Care Oregon, also known as TFCO or TFCO. It's a global evidence-based type of foster care developed way back in the 1980s in Oregon, America, hence the name, and has had success all over the world, including the US, the UK and New Zealand. So TFCO is the only known proven foster care model that is an alternative to placing children and young people in residential care. The goal is to reunify these children with aftercarers in a stable family-like environment after their time in TFCO. So this could be with the birth parents, family or long-term general foster carers. And we work closely with the aftercare family to teach them all of the parenting techniques we use in the program so that all of those great new routines are maintained once the child or young person leaves your care and the child goes on to live with their aftercarers. Specialised foster care is based on a combination of social learning and behaviour modification. So what does that mean? It means that we're not trying to fix these kids, we're simply helping them to find their strengths and help fill the gaps in their life skills that these kids need to function in life, whether that's at home, school or socially. Now with specialised foster care, firstly we identify a child who is suitable for the program because it's not for all kids. Children are not forced to be in this program, they want to be there because they know that they can finally go home if they graduate from the program. So they do have to agree to join TFCO, knowing that it's a short-term placement with the aim to reunite them with family. We also go through a thorough matching process to find a child or young person that's the best possible match for you. So we look at where they go to school, what your hobbies and interests are, where you live, etc. And then we match on those bases. Then we identify the behaviours that stop these kids from being able to live with family or general foster carers and work out what skills they need to develop. The team will then decide on which behaviour they're going to tackle first. So this could just be following instructions, for example. We'll then work on that skill from all different directions, with the foster care being involved and the other professionals in the OzChild team. So the aim of this program is to change their behaviours, and we do this by catching them being good. We praise them instead of always getting negative attention for all of the things that they're doing wrong. In our program, we praise them for all of the good things that they're doing. So thank you so much for putting your plate in the kitchen. Great job in getting out of bed on time this morning. Thank you so much for not swearing today. And we reward them for that good behaviour. So for example, for teenagers, the reward might be screen time on the weekend if they go to school 5 days that week. And for younger kids, they might get a little toy each day that they follow their daily morning and evening routine. And then after a while, they don't even need to be rewarded anymore for that particular positive behaviour as it becomes a habit. And once we've addressed that behaviour, we move on to the next one and the next one. So we're definitely not looking for perfection, we're simply praising them for their effort, filling up their empty cups so that the kids can start to grow their own self-confidence and self-esteem. We often get asked the question, what are the kids like who are in the TFCO program? And the answer is children and young people with all kinds of challenging behaviours. Because most of these children have experienced a trauma of some sort, they might be displaying some challenging behaviours, and some of the examples you can see on this slide are in response to trauma. So these are definitely not bad kids. We're really viewing misbehaviour as a skills deficit here. And also sometimes these young people haven't been taught the tools on how to regulate their emotions, as perhaps their parents have neglected them for the past 10 years. And also these behaviours are often learned or role modelled to them by their primary carers previously. Or in other instances, maybe this young person has been caring for their own siblings from a young age, which means they have been parentified and never allowed to be a child as well. So keep in mind you probably won't see all of these behaviours all day, every day, and not with every child either. But we are there to support you and guide you through some of these challenging behaviours. And it's definitely okay to look at this slide and wonder if you have the skills to be a specialised foster carer. That's very normal. But I'd just like to say you don't have to be perfect to be an amazing carer. And we will train you up and teach you everything you need to know and how you need to manage, these young people in the program, and that's what we're here for. So throughout the 9-month placement, you'll most likely see less behaviours of concern with these young people, increased pro-social behaviours, improved attendance and achievement at school. We generally have kids in the program that are not very engaged in school when they start off. Maybe they're suspended or only go to school for a couple of days or hours each week. And with the help of the team, that's often hugely improved. Last financial year, all of the children who graduated from the program transitioned to living with their mum or dad, family members, or long-term foster carers as well. You can choose between becoming a full-time TFCO carer, which means the child or young person will be in your care 24/7 over that 9-month period, or you can become a respite carer, which means once or twice a month you'll be providing care for children or young people who are already in the program, but that's only over a weekend. So if you'd like to become a full-time TFCO carer, we generally say that the primary carer can't have any other form of employment unless it's highly flexible and only minimal hours per week. The reason for this is that you need to be able to be there at all times, day and night, for the child or young person in your care. but if you are currently working and are planning to quit your job, no need to do that tomorrow, as long as you're just no longer working by the time you have a young person placed with you at the end of the accreditation process, which does take some time. And it is also generally okay to combine fostering with studying part-time, but it depends on the number of hours that you have, deadlines for this, and if it's in person or online. Now for respite carers, if this is what you'd like to explore, this could be when you're available, perhaps over the school holidays or just on weekends. So it's okay to be working in any capacity whilst you're doing this, as your care in the program would be outside of those business hours. When the young person will stay with you, their full-time carers then get a chance to recharge. So if you're a full-time carer, you do have 1 weekend per month scheduled in to have that time to yourself. So that's what our respite carers are allowing our primary carers to do. And the respite carers also provide the child or young person with a wider social network of role models. Our respite carers also receive the exact same training as our full-time carers and the same accreditation. So if you become an accredited full-time or respite carer, you can swap between which type of care you provide with no additional training or accreditations needed. You can become a specialised foster carer if you're over the age of 21. We also do police checks for everyone in the household over the age of 18, and those people will also need to apply for a blue card or working with children's check depending on which state you live in. A spare bedroom is also required for the young person, and room sharing is not suitable in this program. Having permanent residency or Australian citizenship is also required so that our carers can see out that 9 to 12 month placement period and accreditation period to provide stability for the young person. It's also a requirement that carers do not have children under the age of 5 in the home whilst providing specialised foster care. And if you already are caring for foster children, you won't be able to proceed with TFCO, unfortunately, as we're mindful that children in the TFCO program can potentially destabilise existing placements for foster children and lead to placement breakdowns, which is the last thing that we want to see. You also do need to be able to demonstrate that you are mentally, emotionally and physically fit to care, but don't panic. This doesn't mean that you can't become a carer if maybe you have a sore back or if you're suffering from depression or anxiety, for example. For us, we just want to know about what strategies you have in place to deal with this and how it might be impacting your day-to-day life. You also do need to have a smoke-free, safe and clean living environment and having access to a car and a full driver's license as well for those school pickups and drop-offs. Now, TFCO might not be for everyone, and to help you assess if this is for you, we've listed some things that we're looking for in our specialised foster carers. So firstly, being able to care within a prescriptive model, being able to put your own parenting techniques aside if you've already parented, and to follow that therapeutic program. So an example of this in our TFCO program is ignoring bad behaviour if it's safe to do so, which could be quite a change for some people. Also, being coachable is a huge one, being able to take feedback throughout the placement and ongoing. Staying calm whilst caring for children and young people with challenging behaviours in those heightened situations is something that's really important for us. And again, if you don't come with all of these skills off the bat, we're here to help teach you these as well. Having a good solid network is also essential, especially for our single carers, those people that you can rely on for emotional but also practical support. And resilience, not giving up when you're going through a tough couple of days of poor behaviour, and again, we're here to support you with this. Now my favourite, having a good sense of humour, being able to tell terrible jokes and just find the humour in times of chaos. You definitely need to be able to have a laugh throughout the whole time in this program if you can. And then lastly, being willing to care for those young people that need it the most, as often this could be, many kids' last chance at getting back to family. So specialised foster care is different from general foster care. We are the only providers of specialised foster care with the TFCO program in Australia, and if you're tossing up between the two, here are a few main differences between the types of programs. So firstly, for TFCO, we have set age ranges that we care for in this program. So firstly, we have 7 to 11-year-olds, which is our child program. We run this program in Victoria, Queensland and New South Wales. And then we have our adolescent program, which is exclusively for 12 to 17-year-olds, which we run in Victoria and New South Wales as well. The other difference is that for TFCO, it's only that 9-month duration or respite care, but that aim of reunification at the end. So all kids that come into the program have to have a predetermined aftercare, and reunification is that focus. For general foster care, you can provide ongoing care until a young person reaches adulthood, or again, short-term options. There's also quite a high tax-free allowance for TFCO, which allows you to really focus on the child or young person in your care and to follow our routines and implement that therapeutic program. In TFCO, there's quite a bit more support and check-ins with our carers. So we have a daily phone call with you where we track the child or young person's behaviour and progress. And we also see how the child's behaviour has impacted our carers at this time as well. In addition to that, we also have our weekly carer meetings, whereas with general foster care, you might have a check-in with your caseworker maybe once a month as a home visit. And then with TFCO, you can only care for one child at a time, again, to really focus on providing that therapeutic support. For general foster care, you can care for sibling groups, which is really wonderful. For TFCO, you are a part of quite a large team of 7 other professionals that are all there to support you in caring for the child or young person. We also only have 7 kids in each program, which means that the staff to carer ratio is 1-to-1. Whereas in general foster care, we do see that there might be one support worker or case manager managing 30 or 40 households at a time. So they're just a few key differences. So how do you become a specialised foster carer? There is an accreditation process to go through, which takes roughly 4 to 6 months prior to a young person being placed in your care. The majority of this process fits in around business hours, as we know most of our applicants are currently working full-time and continue employment until they're authorised and have a young person match with them. So if you would like to move forward with the formal application process, you just need to reply to my email requesting a registration form. And when we have this completed, I'll then connect you with your local team who will move you through next steps. And next steps include a home visit from us, where we come to your place, have a cup of tea or coffee with you, answer any questions you have, get to know you and assess your suitability. We then move into training, which is our general foster care training, which spans about 10 to 14 hours in total. And this training will really prepare you for the day-to-day responsibilities and challenges of providing care, but also to teach you how to support children and young people that have experienced significant trauma. Then we move to the assessment stage, of course, checking in with you throughout the whole process to make sure that you're comfortable to progress. And the assessments include some paperwork from your end and also sitting through a series of interviews. So you could expect about 4 to 6 interviews with you and your partner if you have one. And the purpose of these assessments is so that we can really get to know you and work with you to discover whether fostering is a suitable option for you at this time. This part of the process can take a couple of weeks in total. And then once that phase is complete, your report with all of the information you've given us is submitted to a panel of child safety professionals that have the final say in your approval. So this process is a very thorough screening process that does take 4 to 6 months, as I said before, but that's because we take child safety seriously. But don't worry, we're here for you every step of the way throughout this process. You might still be wondering, what will my day look like when I am a fully accredited specialised foster carer? Whilst we are following a therapeutic program in a structured team environment, your day-to-day routine is very similar to that of a normal family. So you and the young person will go through that morning routine together. Perhaps they accrue points on their reward chart when they brush their teeth or make their bed. You would then all have breakfast and start the day together. It is the carer's responsibility to take the young person to and from school, so you might do your drop-offs then. Once the school run is done, you'd have your daily phone call with our team. So we call this a PDR, which stands for Parent Daily Report. And this is to track the behaviours shown in the young person for the previous day and to track how our carers' stress levels are in response to the behaviours. Once a week, our carers are also expected to go into our office for the carers meeting. It's just once a week where all of our team come together and discuss their previous week, their experiences, and connect with other carers. This is also an opportunity for reflective practice and for coaching from the professional team. In between school drop-offs and the normal morning and bedtime routines, when the young person is at school, you're encouraged to practice some self-care, go to the gym, run your own errands and fill your time how you like. On some days in the week, the team will have sessions with the young person and take them out into the community after school too, and perhaps drop them off after these sessions as well. You would then go through your evening routines together, again logging those points accrued for the young person throughout the day when they are demonstrating those behaviours that we'd like to see. Regarding contact with birth families, this will often be minimal unless the birth parents have been identified as aftercarers for the child in the program. So in that case, you'll definitely have contact with them, especially towards the end of the TFCO placement, and that contact will increase to even overnight stays or weekend stays towards the end of the 9-month period, which means that yes, you might have some interaction with the birth parents when you pick up the young person and drop them off from these visits. Holidays, it's fine to take the foster child on weekends away, go camping, go on local holidays, and short interstate holidays, perhaps over Christmas or Easter, are also generally okay too. You just need to talk to the team and let them know. Overseas holidays, however, don't generally happen whilst the child's in treatment. So if you would like to go on an overseas trip, we recommend that you plan that trip for when the child or young person graduates the program, when you take your break before beginning the next placement, if that's what you choose to do. Now, if you are currently planning on having a baby of your own naturally, or if you're in the process of doing IVF, surrogacy, or any other fertility treatment, we do recommend that you wait until you finish that journey before applying for TFCO. And we'll definitely always be here if that's in 3 months, 6 months, or 12 months, and there will always be a need for specialised foster carers, so you can definitely revisit it in the future. The impact on your own children is also important if you are already a family applying to join the program, and it's recommended that you do have a think about the age of your own children and how caring for a foster child with complex behaviours is going to impact your own kids' lives, as your children in the home are often the most impacted by becoming a foster family. So definitely include your own children in the conversation and let them know that these children in TFCO might be displaying behaviours they're not used to seeing in the house, that have parenting techniques that might not apply to them. But we have developed a guide to help you workshop these conversations if you'd like a hand facilitating those chats within your family. And then taking a break, it is very important that you do have a self-care strategy in place as a specialised foster carer, and this could just include reaching out to friends or family when you're struggling, but also talking to our team for that emotional support, or taking yourself off the available list after a placement, and let us know when you are ready to open your home and your heart to the next child or young person if you'd like to continue providing care. But looking after yourself and your family is really essential, as being a foster carer can be very challenging, but from all the carers that we work with, overall they agree that caring for these vulnerable people is an incredibly rewarding experience overall. Our specialised foster carers receive a tax-free fortnightly allowance which contributes towards the day-to-day costs of providing care for the child or young person in the program, and this could include food, clothing, small school expenses, bills and other basic needs, but also things like the TFCO program incentives for the young person and those rewards, they come out of this allowance too. So perhaps this could be a new bike or a new scooter, for example, for a larger reward, or smaller things like a yo-yo or an ice cream for those small rewards throughout the week. And this allowance also does reflect the intensity of the program and the complexity of the children and young people that you will be caring for. Now technically this allowance is pro rata. You do start receiving the allowance as soon as you are an accredited carer, and you will also receive the allowance in between placements for up to 4 weeks, which allows you to take a break and to recharge before you do open your home again. Now this payment changes slightly depending on the state you are based in, as we do have TFCO programs in Victoria, New South Wales and Queensland. And please do note, this is not technically a job or a salary, which means that things like annual leave and superannuation are not included in this payment. However, you do receive that planned respite care once a month, which allows you to have time to yourself, and as mentioned before, those 4 weeks of paid leave in between placements. So if you would like to learn more about the financials, please do reach out to me and I can send you some more information on this. As a specialised foster carer, you're a part of a team of 7 other OzChild professionals who all help in providing care for the young person. So firstly, there's a child therapist who will have the child for weekly therapy sessions. It's not your standard therapy where perhaps you visit an office for an hour and then go home. Instead, the therapist takes the young person out into the community, does some fun activities, gets some food, goes for a hike or plays some sport, all whilst the therapist is working on teaching these kids new skills in the background, often without the young person even realising. Then there's a skills coach where they'll be working on a particular skill with the young person, again taking them out of the house, getting them to try new things, new activities, all that they do independently whilst being a positive role model for the young person. And when this happens, of course, that gives the carer some time to themselves as well whilst the young person's out with the skills coach. An example of what this might look like is perhaps, for this week we're practicing the skill patience. So the skills coach might take the young person out to a really busy ice cream shop where they have to wait patiently in line together without flipping their lid. Then there's a teacher who might be assisting the young person if they're behind academically, but also to help with that communication between the school and the program, so that's one less thing for the carer to do. There's also a family therapist who works with the aftercarers to teach them these new parenting techniques and routines to ensure that we can continue the success of the program after the young person's reunified. And we work with these aftercarers for 3 months after the child graduates the program, really to ensure we can set them up for success. Then there's you as a specialised foster carer. You are the young person's cheerleader, you are on their side, you are the good cop, as well as that consistent positive role model that these kids haven't had before. And then we have the program supervisor, so the one that creates all of the rules and the consequences, the bad cop. So this role being there avoids any power struggles in the house between the carer and the child. So if our program supervisor, Robin, says that you can't go to violent movies, if the young person disagrees with this, they can call Robin themselves. So you are a part of this team of professionals who will be there working with you and teaching you everything you need to know, so that we can successfully get these kids through the program and have them graduate. So what support do you have in TFCO? So firstly, you have that dedicated team at OzChild. You are dealing with the same person, the same professional every time you pick up the phone to us. There's also that 24/7 support. So when you call us, you're not calling an overseas call center who needs to look you up in a system, but you're speaking to one of those team of 7 professionals that have met you in person, that know the young person inside and out, and that know you very well too. And they will pick up the phone at any time of night, and they can also be physically at your home any time of day as well if you need. There's also opportunities to get peer support from other TFCO carers during those weekly carer catch-ups, and we've got carers that have had 5+ placements and have been with us for years, so they've got some really great learnings under their belt. There's also respite care, so if you're a full-time carer, you can have access, and you do have access to respite care 1 weekend a month that gives you a bit of a break to recharge. We also have an OzChild app, and we are the only foster care agency to have a carer app, which is really just a convenient place for you to access all that relevant information for foster carers, like upcoming events, articles and webinars. And then we have the foster care and TFCO training, which will really help prepare you for your first placement as well as ongoing training opportunities. So you're definitely not alone in this. There's a lot of support for you and we really want to set you up for success. You might be asking yourself, how will I be able to make a difference as a specialised foster carer in just 9 months? Well, firstly, you'll be allowing these young people to experience positive energy and praise in the home that they probably aren't used to and haven't had before. Living in a stable family-like environment, having dinner as a family, trying new things and activities like going to the beach or trying a new sport together. You'll also be helping these young people to return home to either family or with long-term foster carers in a stable family environment again. So you're preventing these young people from going back into residential care, which we know just doesn't provide them with the good outcomes that they need. You'll be passing on simple life skills that these young people will use for the rest of their lives, like teaching them how to cook a meal or maybe how to ride a bike. You'll also be holding their hand and supporting them on their journey with their therapist to start processing and healing from their own abuse, neglect, or trauma that they've been through so early on in life. So you'll definitely be able to have such a huge impact on the future of these young people and provide them with the opportunities that they really deserve. Thank you so much for viewing all of this information. I hope it was helpful. From here, if you would like to proceed with an application, all you need to do is send me an email and we can get you up and running with next steps. If you're unsure or have a few more questions after today, you're welcome to give me a call or to join us at one of our Q&A sessions with our carers online. Or if maybe now isn't the right time and specialised foster care isn't for you, we completely understand. If you're happy to reach out and let us know either way, that would be great. Thank you.